Hey guys, welcome to the Family Fudge and welcome to Bunches of Lunches, Minions and Monsters edition. The kids and I just got back from watching the newest Minions movie, and while I still think the very first Despicable Me movie is the best of the series, my son Griffin, who just turned 10 years old this week, really wanted to see this new movie on his special day. In our family, we love going to the movies, especially over the summer, and you guys know I also like making themed lunches over the summer too, which brings me to today's challenge. I'm going to be making 4 super fun lunches, one for each of my kiddos, all inspired by this new movie. These lunches will all include a bunch of different characters, have lots of creative foods, but they're all still going to be super easy to put together. So friends, come join me on today's adventure. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And now let the lunches begin. Okay guys, now this movie is set in a time long before the Minions meet and work for Gru. And at the beginning of the story, they all set out to search for the biggest and best villain boss to work for. During this time, James and Henry become best buddies, and they also happen to be the 2 main minions from this movie. But more on that later. For the main course of this lunch, I found the perfect grilled cheese maker. But unfortunately, I did not find the perfect bread. So I'm gonna need to go ahead and trim off the crust just a bit so that it's gonna fit in here. Next, I'll add some butter, followed by not 1, not 2, but 3 slices of cheese. Then I'll top it all off with 1 more slice of buttered bread. Okay, you guys, now it's time to see if this thing actually works. Too bad. You can definitely see the Minion on here. I think this is super cute, and it's definitely cheesy enough. So now for the rest of this lunch, I'm going to theme it around the beginning of this movie. And like I said, the Minions are on a search for a new villain boss. First, the Minions tried working for a giant Cyclops, but that didn't work out. So they moved on to a wizard where they accidentally came across a pink bunny, which then turned into a monster and sent them running. Over time, they also tried working for a mummy, a samurai that got squashed by a panda, before finally moving on to piracy. But even after all that, none of those villains were the right fit. So now back to our lunch. Now technically, I think the pink bunny was the first monster the Minions came across. So I decided to add some pink bunny-shaped pieces of watermelon. Then to go along with that, I'm gonna cut up some cucumbers. I'll add those right in here. And then I'm also throwing in some edamame. And I do not want to forget about some really cute pigs. I got a panda one, and I also have a bunny one coming. Also, I cannot forget the ranch to go with those cucumbers. Now to represent these Cyclops that they meet, I decided to add in a hard-boiled egg. I think this will be a delicious snack on the side. But to make this look even more like a giant eyeball, I'm also going to add a slice of olive to the top. Now there is a very special book that the Minions get when they work for the wizard, and it's kind of important to the rest of the story. So to represent the wizard, I found this really fun cereal for a special snack on the side. It's kind of like Lucky Charms, but with a magical theme instead. Then, to go right next to that, I'm also adding some pirate booty. Of course, this is to represent those pirates the Minions also tried working for without success. Now that brings me to probably the cutest but easiest Minion-themed sweet treat that you could possibly put together. All you need is a printer, some tape, and a box of Twinkies. There are so many free printables online that all you have to do is print them out, then wrap them around your Twinkie, and you can call it a day. These are so fun, they are so cute, and these would be perfect for any Minion-themed party or family movie night. And And then last but not least, I don't want to forget about the mummy from this part of the movie. So for the drink, I'm just going to include some mummy milk. Lunch number 2 brings me to the next part of the story, which I think is kind of the Hollywood movie era. For the main course, I picked up these Minion-shaped chicken nuggets. Now, I actually found these at Aldi, and they look really cute, but I'm skeptical. Are these really going to look like Minions? Some of them look pretty close, you guys, but some of these also just look like blobs. But stay tuned, you guys. There is actually a giant blob character coming up in the next lunch. And you guys, I would love to know in the comments down below if you have actually seen this movie yet. So now that our Minion nuggets are nice and crispy, I'll go ahead and add them right over here. And I do have a cute mini ketchup to go with them. But back to the story. So guys, this next part of the story is set in the time of silent movies. The Minions arrive in Hollywood and they quickly become movie stars. So now to go along with our chicken nuggets, I'm also going to put together a movie-themed Minion sandwich using peanut butter Nutella and of course some bananas. In this movie, we learn that bananas are still the Minions' favorite food. So you're going to be seeing a lot of banana foods in our lunches this week. Speaking of bananas, I also want to add some on the side, but instead of just leaving it plain, I'm going to add one of the leftover wrappers from our Minion Twinkies. It pretty much works just the same. That's adorable. I love it. Moving on to the veggies, I'm going to take some celery, and instead of stuffing it with peanut butter like I used to do when I was a kid, I'm going to make this more of a savory veggie snack by stuffing in some jalapeno cream cheese instead. I'm going to place these right on our lunch tray. Then, to make this fit our Hollywood theme, originally I was going to spell out Hollywood using carrots, you know, kind of like the famous Hollywood sign, but that's a lot of letters. I don't think I can fit the word Hollywood, so I'm just going to spell out Minions instead. And now that our veggies are done, I can go ahead and add in that James sandwich. Next, to go with our movie theme, I wanted to include our favorite movie snacks. Of course, we love popcorn, so I have to add some of that. And then we also love peanut M&Ms. But you guys, you gotta let me know, what are your favorite snacks when you go to the movies? Next, for some snacks on the side, first I'm adding some cheese. And to this cheese, I do want to go ahead and add a little cowboy boot shape right on top. And that's just because the very first movie that the Minions make in Hollywood is a cowboy-themed movie. Next to that, I'm also going to add in some lentil chips. I love these. And then, of course, I have to include some banana cream pie yogurt. And now for a very special sweet treat, I was able to find these Minion popsicles. These are actually strawberry and banana flavored, and check this out. They actually have a hole in the spot where the eye should be, which I was not expecting. And then lastly, to finish off this lunch, I'm just gonna throw in the super cute Good to Grow drink with the Minion topper. Okay friends, that brings us to lunch number 3 and the next part of our story, which is gonna be filled with monsters. They ended up getting kicked out of Hollywood, and that's when they decided to make their own movies. Monster movies to be exact. They quickly found out that they were gonna need some help. So, using the special book they got from the wizard, they made Goomy appear. Which brings me to today's main course. I'm gonna make a ham, cheese, and green mustard Goomy sandwich. That's right, you guys. Check out this super fun green mustard. It is actually Gumi themed. Oh yes, and even though it's green, it just tastes like regular mustard. Now at first, the Minions thought that Gumi was very nice and helpful, but since he was so little and cute, he wasn't going to be right for the type of monster movies the Minions wanted to make. So Gumi suggested that they find his monster friends Howard and Philip to help. So now back to our lunch, I'm going to add lots of fruit in here. First, I'm adding some green Gumi grapes, which is super hard to say. Then, since Philip is a blue monster, I'm going to add some blueberries. And since Howard is a pink monster with starfish features, I'm going to add a pink star-shaped watermelon. And then you guys, just for fun, I'm also going to throw in some green cucumber stars with ranch. Then I'm gonna move on to some snacks. Now I think these banana puffs would be perfect in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and place them all the way around the sandwich. That way they kind of look like a creepy monster too. I do have one extra leftover Minion Twinkie, so that's going in here too. And you guys, speaking of monsters, in the next part of the story, it turns out that Gumi lied to the Minions. He didn't really bring his monster friends to help the Minions. He brought them to help take over the world. And to do this, they all wanted to use Irene. And at this point, you guys, I just have to say, what the heck when it comes to this book? Because it doesn't even tell the rest of the story. It just ends right here. You don't see Irene at all. But don't worry, guys, I will tell you all about it in the next lunch. Now, I can go ahead and tell you that Irene is another super big, scary monster, and she's kind of like a giant orange jello blob, and she's got like eyeballs everywhere. So that's exactly what I'm going to add to finish off today's lunch. Yeah, I'd say this looks pretty accurate. Now, for lunch number 4, this one is going to be short and sweet, just like the end of this movie. Starting with the main course, I'm going to make a deviled egg Dort sandwich. You see, Dort is kind of like this robot alien character that the Minions meet earlier in the story, but strangely enough, he doesn't appear in this book at all. And I find that kind of weird because Dort is kind of an important character in the end. He's kind of goofy, and you're not really sure if he's a real alien or if he's just a dude pretending to be an alien. But more on that later. So for this deviled egg sandwich, I already mashed up all my yolks, and then I added mayo, mustard, relish, onion, salt, and pepper. Once I had that all mixed together, I added in my egg white, and then whenever I make deviled eggs, I always like to sprinkle a little bit of paprika on top, so I'm adding some of that in here too. Now, according to Dort, he has come to Earth to invade it, so he's kind of a villain too. But not only does he end up being friends with the Minions, but he also falls in love with his girlfriend Debbie, and then he decides to help the Minions defeat Irene. For the fruit in this lunch, I decided to add some pineapple. It's very Minion colored after all. And then for the veggies, in honor of Dort, I'm going to combine cucumbers and cherry tomatoes. And basically, I'm creating some really fun, edible flying saucers, just like the ones that Dort and the Minions used to defeat Irene. So now, to finish off this lunch, I already made some mini banana muffins. I'll add just a few in here. Next, I'll add some mini Funyuns. These go perfectly with a Minion theme. Then on the side, I'm also adding a Minion yogurt tube. And then, while I was at Aldi getting the Minion chicken nuggets, I also found these Minion place and bake cookies. Now, I was a little bit worried because look how smushed they came out of the package, but honestly, I placed them, I baked them, and they were fine. I'll put a couple of those right over here. Now I'll just add some special banana milk, and that's all there is to it. These lunches were so fun, you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.